Namaste, soul family. It's Sky Goddess, and coming back at you with Neptune's transit um, in the frequency of Pisces, which is its own frequency. So our beliefs, our subconscious is where they need to be. So Pisces, dreamy and watery, which rightly so synchronizes with the subconscious, which we you know mostly only get to tap into via or sleep and dreams via Cancerian frequency. So Cancer is that chariot, like Virgo, the hermit, the transitioner, taking us to our subconscious memories. So I spoke of, I have to constantly make reference. And, Saturn's transit in Aquarius, that this second 12-year, the whole 3 12-year cycles, there is a ultimate aim and goal, as there are with all the other 3 12-year cycles and individual 12-year cycles, where in which at the end of this 12-year cycle, you know Pig, which is also Neptune, because that's that 12 frequency. It synchronizes with Neptune and Pisces. So it's likened on to our beliefs just the same. A year of belief, okay, and spirituality. A year of the spirit, okay, and that will be 2031, okay, and this frequency is going to be the Hermit Virgo. So there's going to be much thought, much spiritual thoughts, studies as well, because Virgo is also, is very studious, okay? And 2019, that 12th year, that was Neptune being in Gemini kind of frequency, where people are speaking a lot about spirituality. Now people are going to be actually, students, and they're going to be thinking. It's going to be, within their subconscious, with it, which is their, Mercury placement, their mentality. That's your subconscious. That's strongly linked to your subconscious, your 12th house. That has a lot to do with how you think, and therefore how you communicate. So people are thinking and they're believing in spirit right now. And this is the frequency that will be, that has been from, 2014 and will continue to 2026. Okay, that's 5 years short of, shy of, the Neptune and Virgo frequency. Okay, so five, change, time will change, and then we'll be in that Neptune in Virgo, the Hermit frequency, okay? And that's where Pisces will then Neptune rather will then move on to transiting in Aries. Oh, look at that. So this whole cycle of believing in spirit is just gonna trigger a rise in, I hope not, egotism, and uh, a whole bunch of people being egotistical. But it could also be, people believing in themselves, because that Neptune in Aries has many different sides, like every other placement or aspect. Okay, and it is what we learn that determines, you know, what side of the coin, or what side of, that cube, that we're actually, you know, delving into. So belief in oneself. That's what the frequency that we're going to be under, you know you know 2027, okay, because it's also going to be in the 2026 is also going to be in uh that Pisces frequency, Neptune in Pisces. But beyond that, 2027, Neptune's going to be in Aries, okay? So believing in self, And that can be detrimental as well as it can be very uplifting, you know. So we have people believing, in spirituality heavily right now. That is evident. They started speaking out. They started, professing their beliefs, their connection to their higher selves, the dark nights of the soul, you know, connectivity with spirit. And we are advancing towards, studying spirit, thinking about spirit, being spiritually minded. The aim after that is to know, you know, all about spirituality that is necessary within this 312-year cycle. Okay? Or, for, the ending of this 312-year cycle, there will be lots of teachings on spirituality. Okay? A lot of, there's going to be a rise in spiritual teachers traveling for spiritual purposes, whether this is for healing or therapy, psychology, or treatment for diseases or viruses, because we see, that this, 312-year cycle, it's a cycle that is plagued with, you know, viruses and their mutations. Also, along with, a rise in believing in spirituality, we see a rise in believing in the subconscious. And hmm, people are analyzing themselves. And that is kind of like that Neptune in Aries frequency. People being their own therapists, their own psychologists, their own healers. Okay? And it's also like, being Pisces rising, It's similar because it's Neptune in Aries. Aries was the first house. So it's like Pisces being in the first house. So that's like being a healer. But, a true healer first had to learn to heal themselves. Okay? And, that's why I find it so absurd for people to say that, oh, not because you're a healer means you can heal yourself. Okay? You still need a healer. I mean, I'm like, what? A healer is a healer by first learning to heal themselves. Okay? You're your first patient. You're your first case study. You're the first person you psychoanalyze. You're the first person you counsel. Oh, and we're gonna have a rise, and a lot of spiritualists, a lot of self-proclaimed healers, and intuitives, because Pisces in the first house. I'm gonna speak on that in regards to the Neptune transiting in Aries, following this transit in Pisces. Okay, it is like saying you are a high priestess. You are not religious. You're not a religious nut. You are a spiritualist. You are one who is in tune with themselves. Your consciousness is subconsciousness, if you feel me. So that subconsciousness is within Aries, because along with Virgo and Libra, Aries also rules the mind, because Aries frequency is the head, that Mars frequency where all, you know, actions are planned, okay, and executed. Okay, so the head is basically number one. That's Aries, and also the baby, because you put the baby first before everybody else, because they are innocent and seemingly helpless. So people, that subconscious frequency is going to be in the consciousness. So people are going to be subconsciously conscious, because guess what? They're now believing in spirit. They're now believing in spirituality. They're now believing in, astrology, which is a spiritual science. Okay, it's still a science, but it's also a belief. Okay, it is not commonly accepted or welcomed. In some places, it's like a taboo. Okay, But we have here where people are now believing that. It's the age of the prophecies. It's the age of the Brujas. It's the age of the high priestesses. Lots of Pisces frequencies and Sagittarius frequencies in regards to expansion of spirituality. And there are lots of self healers now and people who are using holistic herbs and means and ways of healing people and themselves. There are lots of lessons and teachings on that as well. Okay, on YouTube there are so many intuitives, and almost every day there's a new one, and sadly, because there are always gonna be, the wolves who try to come and mix and mingle with the sheep, and that's why I said it's so sad, because you know people try to manipulate things that are authentic to their own advantages and to that thing's disadvantage. And it is really sad because you see a lot of so-called intuitives and spiritualists on social media, and yeah, they preach something that sounds good and they seem somewhat knowledgeable, but as to the empathy and the conscientiousness, there is a lack of them. Okay, there are some who give, horrible advices to their listeners. There are some who use psychic attacks on their listeners and their subscribers. And so it's like a dangerous field right now. It's almost like a battleground. Let me just say it is a battleground right now, because Jupiter is gonna be transiting that frequency soon. People, a lot of people are, in fear of lack right now. Okay, so you got people who were never down with this thing, this whole spirituality thing, that they call shit. They're gonna be all of a sudden down with this thing because it's all about the money. And some of these people, it was never really about you know them being attuned with their higher selves, their true selves. It's just really about where the nickel or the dime is. It's like the Matrix. I was like watching it again last night, the first part, and that balded guy who deceived them, he hated knowledge. He was just foolish because he rather to live in an illusion. It was way better for him because the real world was apparently too real for him, and that's the case, the scenario with so many people, which I prophesied last year that some of them are going to lose their minds, and it's not my fault. I did deliver the message: ascend to higher frequencies, leave the pettiness behind, because the pettiness, not the lack of money, it's the pettiness. Okay, the looking down people is what's hindering a lot of people from transcending. It's not the gifts and all of that or the talents, it's the mindset, the mentality, the lack of empathy and compassion and balance, and treating people how you want them to treat you. There's a lack of balance. So we got a lot of people now, they're gonna come and say, okay, they're spiritualists now. They are with astrology now. They're with, the whole self-love talk now. Because it's cool now. It's the way to make money now. It's the way to get attention now. And, there's a wheel of fortune. And there is a grace period wherein which you have to put in a certain amount of work so that when the clock hits 12, you're prepared to take your time on stage. Okay? And if you weren't in this game, or if it's a game to you, you know, at a certain point in time, it doesn't make sense right now because if you weren't on with the jiggy ain't on with you right now. Basically, that's what I mean to say. This isn't something, especially dealing with the 12th house. It's not something to play with. It's not something to buffoon around with. It's not something to capitalize on. It's a way to, yes, you can uh, provide for yourself and your families in various means and ways, using your spiritual gifts. But it is not something to capitalize on in a corporate world kind of sense. It is not saying you cannot make a business out of this. I mean, in the sense of in which it's all about you collecting a nickel or a dime. There are no principles, morals, or values attached to that. And like I said, I've seen so-called intuitives who are selling spells, to people to basically destroy other people's lives, because a lot of these people, they're gonna come and they tell you that they want a love spell so that John Doe or Jane Doe can fall in love with them. And at the end of the day, John Doe was already attached to someone else. Jane Doe was already attached to someone else. You understand? And it's not really about John Doe and who they've got, Jane Doe who they've got. It's all about what their customers want. So there is no ethics, morals, or values attached or tied to any to some of these so-called intuitives. And we must be careful with people's hearts. Even if we don't know them. Okay, we must be gentle and careful with them, as though they were our own. Okay, so there's a call for true empathy, not one that is pretense or a facade, because the universe is not having that. Pisces is too much of a strong, mature frequency, the high priestess, to be dabbled around with. Okay, because once Capricorn transit and leaves Aquarius, we know that Capricorn is gonna move into Pisces, and those are lessons and hardships where spirituality and our belief systems our beliefs are concerned. Okay, so if you're gonna play around with spirituality, there are lessons there with Capricorn transiting in Pisces that you will learn. Okay, that's beyond 2023. So be careful of what you sow right now. Be careful of the seeds that you sow. Though there are gonna be rewards in this field, just know that Saturn is never too far behind Jupiter and vice versa. Okay. So you might, dabble and get something, right now, but there are lessons, punishments, karma. That's also Capricorn, okay? That physical aspect of karma, the hammer coming down, okay? There's that to take away whatever you gained and so much more that you gained, unlawfully or unjustly or undeservingly. So, we've got, Neptune, Pisces. That's what I've got for you. I did say that that was from 2014. Will continue to 2026. I'm not uh, spot on accurate with these dates. So please do not quote me on these dates. I did not say that in prior videos, but I feel like this is enough said, okay? Everything is a study, okay? But a little uh, more or less in regarding to the beginning and ending of those transits. Okay, it's very good to also do your own studies and your own investigations, but I know a lot of people are lazy and don't like to do that. So I will do that for you, and I will revise some of these dates, and I will come back with the updates in the event that I am mistaken. So I'm gonna come back at you after this video with Pluto's transit, which that transit is gonna be, it's currently in Capricorn. Okay, so I'm gonna talk on that. Before I go, a little touch up. I seem to be touching up on the videos prior to the one to the ones that I'm currently doing. So Uranus being in Taurus. Okay, we got the humanitarian being in the your work life, not your job or your workplace. Okay, your hustle. So we see a lot of aiding and assisting people, little small jobs, people assisting, whether companies, corporations, individuals, and receiving, a little stipend or a little cash from that. Okay, I just wanted to make note of that. Jobs are going to be all of a sudden strange and taboo. I don't premeditate all these. I'm just looking at the transits, okay, that I have written down here. So that's it for, your Neptune transiting in Pisces, okay? Believing in spirituality, believing in spirit. Namaste.